Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming on over to Out on a Limb with Gabby Allen today. Today I'm so excited because me have Lorie Lewis Ham with us, and we're gonna have so much fun. She does so many different things, and I think we're really gonna just talk in circles, and I like circles. So let's do that. So as we do every time, we're gonna start out with our first question, and that is, what is it that you do and how do you do it?
Well, primarily I write mysteries. I publish an online magazine and I produce a mystery podcast. As to the how, sometimes I wonder.
Don't we all? Don't
Yeah.
we all? Like, there are times when I'm sitting there, and I just had an email from an editor the other day, and she was like, I don't know how you come up with these ideas. And I'm like, it's a scary place in there. Like, I'll see something, and all of a sudden it's like this idea, and I'm like, ooh, what if this?
Yeah.
So do you play with what ifs when it comes to all three of those?
Well, not entirely with all three. I mean,
Okay.
with the online magazine, it's kind of half mystery and then half more local stuff, animal
Mm,
rescue, the arts, and things like that. So there's what if in planning what we're going to, review and what we're going
right.
to cover. And the podcast, we have mystery short stories and first chapters read by local actors. So the what if really would just be, well, which one are we going to do, and
Okay.
who are we going to cast? As to books, I definitely, it's probably less sitting down and trying to think of the what if than kind of like what you said, something happens and go, oh, that would be good. What if? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten caught up though? Because I want to be able to be mechanical sometimes about writing. I want to be able to sit down and I want to say, okay, this, and this is how they go together. And there are times where if I force myself to do that, I'm like, I don't have a thought in my head. I don't even know if I remember how to turn an oven on right now because it's like I'm forcing the
Yeah.
issue. So do you obviously, I would think with the magazine, which I love, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely, with the magazine you're kind of planning in advance and
Yeah.
that has
Yeah.
to be done, but
Definitely.
in comparison to the book writing, are you a little more fluid with that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, for one, I'm definitely a pantser.
Oh,
I just
oh,
sit down and
okay.
go. So,
You really
and yeah, absolutely. I don't think, excuse
interesting.
me, we got flies zipping
Uh,
around here.
don't even worry
Uh,
about it.
yeah, I don't think I could do it any other way. I think I would feel like if I outlined it that I was done already. It's
So yes, and I have talked to a number of people about that, and I always bring up this example, but Suzanne Brockman, at least when I listened to her give a speech once, she writes a 50-page outline.
oh
And
wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, if I had 50 pages written, I better have 45 of story. Like,
Yeah.
that's too much for me
Yeah.
because I, like you said, I would feel like, or like, it's done. So why am I
Hmm.
doing this? But so I have met a couple of different kinds of pantsers. I have met one that doesn't even know the names of her characters. She just starts writing and she'll put hero or heroine. So you're writing
No, no, yeah, writing, excuse me, this fly just wants to be part of the conversation.
he's like, hey, do you see me? I would like you to
Yeah.
see me. I'm dying in 18 hours, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yeah, wanted to be seen.
okay.
Uh no, I definitely know my main characters. For
Okay,
one, their series.
yes,
This new book is the first in a new series. So I feel like it's important to know my characters. That doesn't mean that things won't change, but
right.
probably I often don't know who the victim or killer is, at
Oh,
least in the beginning,
that's awesome.
especially the killer.
Yes.
um I have, though, when it comes to description, I put more description here and then go back to it. That I have done.
Yes, and I understand that. So do you write in order though? So like I
Oh
know
yeah.
people who,
Yeah,
okay, you have
definitely.
to go linearly. So it
Yeah,
has to start
definitely.
here and it ends here.
Yeah.
And so like when you're editing there, this was something that just came up the other day on a Facebook group.
Mhm.
Do you overwrite or underwrite?
Probably under.
Okay, because I'm an
Yeah.
underwriter too.
Yeah.
I tend to, I had read a book years and years, like 2005, and it was called the 10% method, I think. And
Okay.
so what they had said was you should write it as anticipating that you will take 10% out when you edit. And
Oh,
I was like, no.
no.
If I'm writing,
Yeah.
if I'm supposed to write a 75,000 word book, I write 70, because I always know that I'm going to add in descriptions. I'm going to
Yeah.
add in dialogue, tag things. I'm going to add in things to round out. So I
Yeah.
underwrite. So do you think that
Definitely.
you
Oh yeah,
underwrite?
absolutely. I mean, because I pretty much just go all the way through. I
Uh-huh.
don't go back, to like what I wrote the day before,
I
unless I just,
can't.
look at it real quick just to make
Right.
sure I know where I am.
Yes, yeah. What was
But
I writing? Why are they
yeah,
here? Where are we? What are they wearing?
yeah. But yeah, I have to get all the way through it
Yeah.
first and just go back and
Yeah.
add things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I that's definitely my editing is more hardcore than my writing.
Oh
My
yeah.
writing, like, so if I know for certain that I have to put something in because something came up on page like 150,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that I have to introduce it at least by like page 40, I may go back and just either put a note in there, or I make a note to myself on a piece of paper, hey, don't forget to put that in.
Yeah, yeah. I
um
have done things like that before.
yeah, I think I need the linear because
Yeah, me too.
I build, and I don't know if that's, I've come across romance writers who are like that. I've come across thriller writers who are like that, and definitely mystery writers. But I think in mystery and in thriller, it's almost like a necessity, because if you don't, especially if they're funnier, like the joke has
Yeah,
to roll
yeah,
through, the clues have to roll through. Like, I don't know that I could write chapter 14 and then go back and write chapter 2, because they wouldn't
yeah.
link
No,
correctly.
no, yeah. And
Yeah.
I use a calendar to
Oh
keep track of
yes,
things. I do that.
yes, thank
Uh,
you.
I learned that. Funnily enough,
Yes.
I live in the Fresno area, and they used to have a big writers conference every year. And
Okay.
one year, the keynote speaker was Carol Higgins Clark.
Yeah. Oh
And
really?
she does that. And is
Oh,
when she said that, I went, oh yes, that's perfect. That's
I
what I
would
need to do.
fangirl all over the place. I actually did a chat the other night with a bookstore with Laura Levine, and I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
oh my gosh. And I totally was like, can I just, in the middle of the chat, I'm like,
Hmm.
Laura, I just have to fangirl over you really quick because I'm sitting here like totally taken aback by the fact that I am in a chat with you. Then I found out that she
Yeah.
had come out with Count Chocula. And I was like, and that is my spirit animal. Like,
Well, there you go.
I can't love you more. Not that I
Yeah.
eat that a whole lot anymore, but I did. And I mean, so getting back to it, there was sometimes there's just rabbit trails. Do you use, like, so I go to Staples after the new year has started and I grab calendars from the year before.
Actually, I actually kind of make my own calendar
Oh, okay.
for that time period with little
Yeah,
squares, and then I'll have the date, and then at this time this happened, at this time this happened.
I
Just
love it.
to keep track so that oh wait, they were there, should they
Right.
and sometimes if I know something, like they'll say, well, let's meet such and such day, then I'll make
Yes.
a note of that ahead on the
And
calendar.
that makes sense. So one of my biggest failings, which was hysterical, I'll tell you why it's hysterical in a second. One of my biggest failings is knowing what day it is. And I, not necessarily in real life, although right now that is a bit of an
Yeah.
issue, but in a story, I once had a critique partner who was like, it's been Tuesday for like 72 hours. And I was like, oh, that's
Whoops.
so we ate first breakfast, second breakfast, third breakfast. But Essie Soga, who is my editor at Kensington, I had warned her. I was like, hey, now this is one, and she's like, uh-oh, because that's one of my issues too. I
Oh
was like,
no.
oh, do we have somebody else who could step in and help us? Because I don't think we want to both be wrong about that.
Yes, true.
But yeah, I mean, so I go by the 8.5 by 11 openable
Uh-huh.
calendars because I like to carry stuff and I'm not always good with just one page. Plus, you can do over 12 stories with the same calendar, and if you buy them later, like into the new year, they're
Mhm.
heavily discounted because they figure
Ah,
who's going to buy that.
yeah.
I used to use one of the big desk ones,
Uh-huh.
like that people, but no, I did. That's too big for me. So you make your little calendar. Now,
Uh-huh.
in Cozy Mystery, 9 times out of 10, we're talking about like a week, 10 days or
Yeah,
so for
yeah,
the
somewhere in
mystery.
that neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay.
I would have to actually go back and look with the
No.
latest one. I'd say it's probably about a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
find like if it's not early, if it's not that length of time, like what are you doing
Yeah.
as the sleuth? Like
Yeah.
there can't be a bunch of lag days and days where you do nothing, or you're going to lose the reader's interest.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
if this is so important that you have to run around and find clues, why didn't you run around and find clues on
Yeah.
Wednesday?
Yeah. Very good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because when I first started writing cozy mysteries, I was not aware of any of the rules.
Mhm.
I my first one came out in 2005, and I had nothing to do with the mystery community. I had nothing to do with anything. I just wrote what I wanted to read, which was cozy mystery with a pretty heavy romance, but a closed
Okay.
door. And then later on they're like, oh yeah, we don't do words and we don't do like romance. And I was like, oh, all right, well, don't read those. If you're a hardcore traditional cozy fan, don't read the Poison Ivies. And so, like, so when you were starting and you were getting into writing, were you already involved in the community to a spot where you kind of knew what it was that you were doing and what was expected?
To a certain degree. I mean, I started writing in my teen. Well, I actually, my first story I actually wrote when I was a little kid, but I started seriously trying to write a mystery novel when I was in my teens, and
Oh,
then I
cool.
wasn't.
Oh,
But then in my early 20s, we got a brand new chapter of Sisters in Crime in Fresno.
ah,
And that's when I was trying to write what became my first series at that
okay.
point. So then I did start getting to know people through that. I went to a Left Coast Crime,
Mm.
and so I did start getting to know people and knowing more about it. But neither series did I start out with the idea I was writing a cozy. I
Oh,
just I just wrote a mystery.
oh, you're like,
So
this is what I got. You want to call it
yeah,
a cozy? I'm fine.
yeah. I feel like there's a lot more romance in it than there was. If you say there wasn't before, I feel like
Yes.
there's a lot now. Not,
Yes.
not graphic things, but
Right.
romance.
It's an interesting thing that you say that, because so the ones that like Mary Higgins Clark and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
they didn't used to do that a
Yeah.
whole lot. I mean, even if they had a boyfriend, he was like, he could be helping with things, but they like never even kissed and they rarely held hands or anything.
Mhm.
And then I started seeing this trend where there was more interaction between the guy and your
Mhm.
sleuth. And now Kensington is pushing me in, not pushing me, but pushing a new kind, because this is my jam:
Uh-huh.
rom comedy, romantic comedy and cozy mystery. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
oh,
yeah,
I am
I've seen
there
some of
for
those.
that.
Yeah.
I want, can I please? Because I
Uh-huh.
had been going to the Kensington mini cozy cons, and I kept
Okay.
getting a lot of people who would come up and say, I love traditional cozy mysteries, but I wish they were a little different. And I'm like, well, what different do
Mhm.
you want? And they're like, like more flawed heroines and like more life kind of
Mhm.
issues. And I was like, are we talking like romance stuff? And they're like, yeah, like everybody's relationship seems to be really kind of easy. And I was like, oh, you have come to the right place. Let me see what I can do. So I talked to Essie and she was like, and then like 4 months later, she's like, you know what? Everybody else is hearing this too. Let's go ahead and change your book
Mhm.
and get it. And I'm like, change my book. Let me send you the original
Oh,
before.
there you
Because
go.
I do write it the way I want to see it. And then
Mhm.
I will edit it to make sure that it's more in line with the
Mhm.
traditional. So do you do that? Do you just kind of write it exactly how you want and
Oh
go from
yeah,
there?
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and I haven't dealt with a big publishing house
Okay.
either, so I feel like I have more freedom as far as
Okay.
that side of it goes.
Who are you with?
Uh, well, my first 3 books were published with an indie publisher who will remain nameless.
Oh, okay. That's all right. We can do that.
And then I self-published the last book in that series so that there would be an ending,
Yeah.
because there was definitely a romantic aspect, and it was like,
Yes.
okay, which one is she going to choose? And
Oh,
I
we were love triangling.
didn't want to leave that hanging. And
Yes.
then my new series, I just went straight for self-publishing.
Oh, very
So,
cool.
yeah. And we have Amazon. Amazon at the door.
Okay, say hi to him for me. I love it. I
Oh.
love dogs. They're so funny.
Oh, dear. As soon as the Amazon person leaves, I'll stop.
Oh yeah, it's fine. I love
Guys, Phoebe, and it's my Chihuahua mixes mostly.
Ah, yes.
They do love to bark.
They are pretty fierce when it comes to
Yes,
that kind
they
of
are.
stuff.
They gotta
Totally
protect their home.
Right. From the guy who's trying to like deliver their treaties.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, you should be nicer to him. He's the reason you eat.
Yeah.
Just saying. And I've started self-publishing some paranormal cozy mysteries because I want to do some things that I don't think like a normal publisher would be okay with. And it's not story stuff. It's more like I want them out on the 13th of the odd months. And I don't want you to change the things that I'm doing. And I want the names that I have. And my kid goes to Savannah College of Art and Design, and they do my covers.
Oh, great.
And so like I wanted all of that. And so I was like, I'm not giving this to anybody. I really want to do them on my own. And so are you enjoying having more control over what goes in where?
Yes. I mean, even with the indie publisher, there wasn't a lot that I was told what to do.
Okay.
There were a couple things I had to change, but not too much.
Okay.
But I do like having the control, and honestly, part of it also for me is trying to balance the magazine and the podcast. Yes. I like to be able to say, I can't get this done next month. I can give myself more time, or I can't do certain amount of promotion. I'll just do what I can when I can, Right. So I think that works better for my life that way.
Absolutely.
So
I like to, with the self-publishing, and this is going to sound weird, but it's just how I am. I like not having to feel like I have to make money for somebody else.
Yeah, that too.
Because I do struggle with that sometimes with Kensington, because they have advances. And so I get a check when they take the book, and I'm like, oh my God, I owe this back.
Yeah, I can see that.
Whereas when I'm self-publishing, and I don't have to explain myself even to a small publisher who's like, you really need to do some more promotion because we'd really like, better numbers for you. Instead, I'm like, I sold 3 books. That's very exciting. Exactly. Whereas someone else would be like, 3 books. I mean, that's good, but we kind of need to step that up a little bit. And I like being able to be in charge of that. But see, I had to pull in people to help me. Like I have a formatter, I have an editor, I have the cover artist, because I don't know how to do any of that. So
I definitely had help with different things too. So but it's still, you and I, when we self-publish, we still are the bottom line.
Yeah. So, exactly.
We get to decide.
You can edit it, and I may choose not to do what you're asking for. Sometimes I had an editor once, and this was a different house, and it was years ago. I kid you not, she changed every single sentence. Every sentence. She
Oh
had changed. And
no.
I had to go back to her and I'm like, are you writing this or am I writing this?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be mean, but you're not changing things that enhance the story. You're not
Yeah.
saying you use the wrong word here, or there's a comma that goes here. You're literally rewriting every single one of my sentences.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. You don't have to take those. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try to take some of them, but you also have a certain voice
Hmm.
when you're writing, and it is very hard when you end up with an editor who wants to change your voice,
Yeah, it is.
because I think, especially with people having already read you, when they pick up your new book, they're aware, they have a certain expectation.
Oh yeah.
And if they don't get your voice, that's going to be the first thing that's going to halt them. They may not realize what it is that's halting them, but it's not going to sound like you.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's just one of
Yeah.
those things where I'm like, all right, so hopefully now Essie is very good about leaving my voice alone. So I do
That's good.
that. Yes, because that might have been a deal breaker. I actually
Hmm.
had some agents who were interested when I was sending stuff out a couple years ago, and they're like, well, but it would have to be less snarky. And I'm like, oh, you're not.
No.
Sorry. I really appreciate you wanting to take me on. That's not happening, because
Yeah.
that is what I write.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have the 3 books, you put out the 4th, which I am also doing with the Tally Graver
Mhm.
series with Kensington, because Kensington shut down at book 5. And I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh, I have 6, 7, 8, and 9 that I still really want to do. So I'm
Hmm.
doing this on my own.
Okay, that's good.
And then the new series, did you just, because that was closed off, you decided to start again?
I'm doing a blog tour right now, and
Oh,
I actually have one of the posts I wrote, and I can't even remember if it's one that's up already.
ah,
I actually talk about that. Um,
okay.
the first series featured a gospel singing amateur sleuth,
Oh,
and
I
that's what
keep
I used
doing
to
that.
do.
You keep making me go, oh, I never do that. Okay, we're gonna try for a different sound, because I don't want this to be the old podcast.
Okay.
So, all right.
And,
Wow.
because I was a gospel singer for
Were you?
quite a number of years. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
started when
gosh,
I was
how cool
12,
is that?
and so the way I actually was able to finish my first book was writing something I knew, because I kept trying and trying. And it was actually at a Sisters in Crime meeting that somebody said, well, why don't you write about a gospel singer? And I'm like, I never really thought about that.
Well, that
And
makes so much sense. Why?
yeah.
That makes too much sense. Why would I do that?
And actually that ended up leaving me with going with an independent publisher, because back then
Yeah.
crossovers weren't a thing.
No.
And so they would see it and say, oh, this is a Christian mystery, so you need to, and I'd be like,
No.
no,
No.
it's not.
Isn't that
Just because,
interesting?
yeah, because um I it showed the good and the bad side of
Yeah,
that industry. It was
absolutely.
realistic.
Hmm.
And so it definitely, and plus it definitely didn't go to the formula
Yes.
of Christian romances. At
Right.
least then they were
Right.
even more restrictive than
Yes.
cozies by a long shot.
Yes. I think
And
for the most part, they still are. There is an
yeah,
expectation when you pick up one of those that it's something that you're going to be able to give to your daughter, give to your mother, and give to your grandmother.
yeah. But also they would like, there was no kissing. There
Okay.
had to be a certain amount of verses in it and all
Oh.
this stuff. And I'm sure they wouldn't have liked seeing the bad side of gospel music either. So I kept hearing, well, it should be, it's this or it's this. And so even though I had a few agents that liked it,
Yeah.
it was to them, it didn't fit anywhere.
Right.
And
And they
so
were
that's,
going to want changes that you were not
yeah,
wanting to.
right.
Yeah. I understand that.
And so then there's been like, it's been about 11 years since the last book came out.
Okay.
And what I said in my post basically was that I'm in such a different place, and I'm
Yes.
such a different person than I was then, that's not my story anymore.
Right.
I needed something
Yes.
new, something that fit now. So
Right. Well, and so like I was saying earlier, I wrote the Ivy Morris mysteries 2005 through 2009
mhm.
with a publisher that's closed now. So then when I got the rights back, I asked the Wild Rose Press, would you consider? And they're like, absolutely. And then I did write an extra one for them on that. But when I was going through it, I was like, "Ooh, wow, no, this is not who you are." Well,
Yeah.
because I was in my early 20s
Mhm.
when that, no, not early 20, 2005 would have put me closer to my 30s. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I was later in my
Mhm.
30s. I was like mid 20 when I wrote it. It
Uh-huh.
came out starting when I was almost 30, and then like I was, now I'm in my 40s. You're different.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so
Oh
the
yeah.
Tally Graver mysteries ended up being closer to what I was now. And
Mhm.
so I don't know that I could still write Ivy and pull her off unless I aged her
Yeah.
pretty significantly. But if I do that, then it's a different series anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I did think about jumping ahead and
Oh,
writing a new
dang
book.
it. You with the O. Okay.
But really it's just writing about a gospel. I don't sing anymore.
Okay.
I'm not a part of that world
Right.
anymore, and it just wasn't what I wanted to write.
Yes.
So, that
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 makes
one's
sense.
done.
So
So,
what are we doing now then?
well, my main character, Roxy Carlucci,
Ooh.
and
Yeah.
she's starting her life over basically at the beginning of this
Okay.
book. She used to write children's books, and
Okay.
she had a small animal rescue, and she lived on the coast of California, which is where the first book originally was, and that didn't work.
Okay.
And her publisher drops her. Her roommate moves out, so she can't afford the house anymore, and so she closes down the rescue, and she moves to Fresno, and she moves in with her cousin who's a PI, and she moves to the Tower District, and that is the arts and cultural district
Yes.
of the area.
Right.
And so I almost feel like the Tower District is as much a character in this as she is. But the
That's
first book,
awesome.
she's trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life,
Yes.
and
As you
gets it.
do.
Yes. And she gets involved with a local community theater slash animal rescue fundraiser event, and someone
I
dies.
love it. I love it.
So
That's
that's a new
wonderful.
one.
So do
Yeah.
you plan on writing quite a few of these, or are
I'd like
you
to, yes,
okay?
definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
And do you, so like, because it's at your on your time schedule, and you had said earlier, that sometimes you can just tell yourself we're not doing that right
Yeah.
now. Do you have any kind of plan on when they're coming out, or are you just going to write them and then let people know that it's available?
I think pretty much the second. I mean,
Okay.
I definitely want to take a lot less time with the second one than this one, because this one took basically 10 years. So
Okay. Yeah, but a little faster.
yeah, a little bit.
I got you.
If I could get the second one out the end of next year, that would be great, but we'll see what
Okay.
happens.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's so interesting to me. So I spent a lot of time in the romance world,
Mhm.
and bridging with the mystery, and then going back to romance, and then doing romance mystery. And in the romance world, they want you to have a book out like if you could do it every month, they would be happy with that. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I've seen
a
that.
new book out every month. Okay, well, and I did novellas every other month this year,
Mhm.
and I'm like,
Oh
I
wow.
don't I don't know how to even, like, how do you promote that? I'm not going on a
Yeah.
new blog every 4 weeks to talk about my next book. Like, that
Yeah,
just seems
yeah.
like an inundation, and I don't think it wasn't a good fit for me. But I'm glad I tried it because I wanted to make sure. But there are people, the last tally came out last October, And I am getting people now who are like, why am I not seeing a new tally coming out in October? And I was like, well, Kensington. And they're like, well, you can choose differently, and I'd like you to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So I started writing Par for the Hearse, which is going to be the next Tally Graver. And I'm like, so in the mystery community, they don't mind waiting a year
Yeah.
for another book. They don't forget who you are just because you haven't put a book out every 6 weeks.
Yeah. I would say a lot of the big name authors, other than like James Patterson,
Yeah.
it's one a year typically of the
Yeah.
ones that I read, you know.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty common thing in the mystery community.
You just have to like know who you're working with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that people still get very excited. There's a different anticipation. But then again, I've talked to other authors and also readers, romance wise, and they're reading like 8 to 10 books a week
Wow.
versus
How do you do that?
I don't know. I honestly I don't know. But there are people who are reading romance wise, they will read like 8 to 10 books a week.
Wow.
So if you're reading that many books, then that is a big gap between
Yeah.
if you're waiting a year, you have read a whole lot of books. Possibly 520
Oh
since the
wow.
last time you read that particular mystery series.
Yeah.
So I can understand how that, but mystery is not quite the same. Although I do
Yeah.
like the cozy mystery. I don't remember what it's called. Is it called Cozy Mystery Book Challenge or something? And everybody lists like what books they've read this year. But still, you know, in September they're like at 120 something. They're
Yeah.
not at 592, and like, wow, I love how do you remember your own name?
Oh, I know.
I mean, and some of them are novellas, so it's not, you know, they're not necessarily eating them up in
Yeah.
75, 80,000 chunks, but that's a lot for me. I felt very pressured to do that, thinking that I would lose readers. And then I got into the mystery thing, and even looking back on some of the romance, and I'm like, you know, there are still people who are doing really well putting a book out every year, every
Yeah.
6 months. I think you just have to have really good books that they can't forget.
True. Good point.
So I'm excited about Fresno and the arts. So do you have experience with those, or is that something that you did research on?
I have experience.
Okay.
It started out with both of my kids are in theater and started that in high school.
Yes.
And I became the theater mom. And
Oh,
so that
yeah.
kind of grew from there. And then
Okay.
when I started Kings River Life, we review local theater.
Oh,
And so then that connection came in. And then with the podcast, I'm working with local actors, you know, for the podcast. So
I love
I
it.
definitely have a lot of connections and know a lot of people in the theater community. So
That is wonderful.
that was pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, and it is nice to do something like so with the Tally Graver mysteries, yes, she works at a funeral home for her parents, and I had to do some research on that. But her main thing is cleaning. And my mom
Okay.
used to be a commercial cleaner. So we
Okay.
used to live in California, down in Southern California. And they at the time they were building a lot of those developments, and they had a ton of the model homes. And so
Okay.
she worked on cleaning the model homes. So I had all kinds of experience with that. And, you know, like, so I could bring that in without having to do a ton of research. The glass bottom boats, I gave her also a little gift shop with the new ones, Wit and Whiskers, under the Gabby Allen name, because I used to work at a candy shop. And like, I can tell you kind of how that works for novelties and that kind of thing. And then the glass bottom boat thing, yeah, I had to do some research on that. But I'm probably not going to choose a career that I know nothing about.
Yeah, same.
Because it's funny, somebody had mentioned, and I didn't think anybody noticed this. I have a lot of characters who think in the way that they work. So like if in the New Wit and Whiskers, she used to work at the railroad. And so
Okay.
she would always say, well, we need to get that back on track. And,
Uh-huh.
are we going to use the switches? Are we switching gears and that kind of thing? And so now that she's doing the boats, it's like, we'll go ahead and dive in and, throw me a rope so that I can. And so I've always done that. And so if I know something about what it is I'm writing and it's not all internet research, I
Right.
think the inside stuff. As a theater mom, there are phrases and things that that you can put in that will make it feel more authentic.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I cannot wait. So that the first one just came out.
It came out the beginning of August.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And in the end, she's going to end up being a part-time PI / entertainment podcaster, but that doesn't really gel until the end. So
that's okay. Well, and hopefully we'll have lots of books to go through.
I hope so.
You got to give her something, to do along the way. So it's okay for her not to. There are so many books, I think people really like to see people start over. Because it allows you to see the challenges, I think, that they're going through, and to feel like, oh, well, at least I don't have it as bad as she does. Sometimes,
true.
Because it's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, so what do you think you'd do if you really did find a dead body? And I'm like, well, I certainly wouldn't sleuth. I would be on the phone saying, hello, police, can you please come, because I don't know that I would survive the ending like our girls always do, because something always happens at the end where they're confronted or they get pushed or something. And I'm like, I don't want to take that chance.
No.
I don't really want to be on anybody's radar like that. I would rather somebody else do the thing,
True.
And when it comes to that, I think there's obviously a level of suspension of disbelief when it is that you're, just like when I used to write or watch Murder, She Wrote. And I'm like, I never, ever, ever want to be in town if Jessica Fletcher is coming.
True.
It's worse than wearing a red shirt on Star Trek. I mean,
it is.
You might as well just lay down with a little note on your chest that says, I'm pretty sure Bob did it and he's down the road at the farm. I mean, and that is, I have never written a series that's over 6 books. Because what else am I going to do? Like, how often do you have somebody die in town without somebody saying, are you sure you're not doing it? Because it's awfully convenient that you always seem to find the body and then you solve the mystery. Whereas, maybe you have some part in it, I guess if you space them out, I don't know. Do you think, because it's going to be like maybe a year before we get the next one, are you going to make it a year in the book?
No, actually, it's just going to be about 3 months, because this one's going to be set at Halloween.
Oh, I love Halloween books.
Yeah,
I love
me too.
Halloween books. I just finished one. It's called Which Way to Halloween, WITCH, Way to Halloween.
Oh, fun.
And I was like, there is just something about the season. And today is the beginning of autumn, and not that this is going up on the first day of autumn, but to you future listeners, welcome to autumn. And I think there's like a snap in the air that you can do more with than when you're me sweating in summer.
Yes, true.
Oh my gosh, too funny. We're coming up on 40 minutes. Oh, okay.
Wow.
It goes fast. Like I said, it goes fast. So where can we find you? What are in the 3 different ways that you do things? Where can we find you?
Well, Kings River Life is just kingsriverlife.com.
Okay.
My own website is mysteryrat.com.
Okay.
And the podcast is called Mystery Rat's Maze, and it's up in all the usual places, iTunes, Spotify. So if you
Awesome.
search for that, be sure and put an apostrophe,
Oh,
mystery rat,
okay.
apostrophe TS.
I just did
Because
the
I
O
have
again
learned,
too.
yes, I have learned sometimes that's a problem. Um,
Okay.
and then I'm also on Twitter at Mystery Rat, and on Facebook, Lorie Lewis Ham, and then everything else is Kings River Life on Facebook and
That's
on
all right.
Instagram. So
That is awesome. I love seeing the things that you do in there, and I love reading the magazine, and
well, thank you.
absolutely, I love it. I haven't yet tried out your podcast, so I will
You
definitely be
need to.
doing that because I think I will love hearing people read stuff. That's always exciting.
We actually a couple of episodes ago did one on an excerpt from my book, so that's up there too.
Oh, dang it. All right. I feel like if I cut out every time I'm giving the surprise then we're gonna have like a 2-minute podcast because I'm like, oh goodness. So sometimes I get stuck on one time the whole podcast I was like, awesome, that's awesome, and I'm like, no, next time you have to say stupendous because
There you go.
you just can't be that predictable.
Well, you
At
could
all.
have a catchphrase,
This is true. I would probably forget to use it because
True.
that's how I roll. But I'm super excited that you're coming back into the game with this new series.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to going back and reading your gospel singer ones and then jumping in for the
Those might be
TI
a
and
little
stuff.
hard to find, so you can
Okay.
try.
We can still look for them. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that. But I have books that are completely and utterly out of print.
Yeah.
I had somebody come to a book signing once, and they had a list of my books,
Oh,
and they're
wow.
like, "I need this one." I'm like,
Have fun.
Good luck finding that. I don't even
Yeah.
have that one. If you find two, can you buy me one also?
Yeah.
That's all right. I mean, you could technically put them back out again later on if you
Yeah,
like them
I've
enough.
had a couple people ask. I do have
Oh,
all the rights back. It's just I'm not sure I even know where the files are. To be
you're like, oh no, and now I got to go in and change all the cell phones, and
honest.
we got to stop using the VCR. And
I think if I did put them up, I wouldn't change it. I would just leave them set in their time period that
I
they're
love
in.
that. I
But
love that.
yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know where the files are. So
That's okay.
that
That's
may not
okay.
happen. Maybe
I'm not
someday.
pushing you. I'm not pushing you. I promise. I won't.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know where all my files are either, but some people have said, oh, you could put that out again, and I'm like, okay, first of all, I wrote it in like 2006, which I'm really
Mhm.
hoping that 15 years later I'm a better author than I was then. And second of all, yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I want
Yeah.
that back out there. I'm just saying. I mean,
Well,
you're more than welcome
yeah.
to want it, and if you find it, go for it. But if not, because I mean, there was a time there, I think I had four stories maybe that were like at that point they were
Mhm.
more graphic
Okay.
than normal romance.
Mhm.
They were calling them erotic romance at that
Oh
time,
wow.
whereas
Okay.
they're not erotic romance today.
Yeah.
But people are like, I want it, and I'm like, no, you're not allowed to read that. I don't care how old you are. I'm saying no, forget it, stop looking for it, you just move on. Oh, well, this has been so much fun.
It has.
And
Thank you for having
I
me.
absolutely, it is my pleasure. I really appreciate you being here. And I'm going to tell everybody, listener wise, if you guys have any questions for Lorie or myself, drop them down in the comment section. I will make sure that Lorie sees them.
Great.
We would love to help you learn something if there's something you'd like to learn. And don't forget to look up Lorie at her links that I'm going to put in the description box.
Okay.
So those will be below. And thank you again, Lorie. This has been so much fun. I
It has been
appreciate you
fun.
making.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. And you apparently are the one that brings out the, oh,
Apparently.
I'm sitting here going, you have to have a different response. What are you doing? What are you doing? But that's okay. So we're going to say goodbye. You guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is that you're listening to this during. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.